Hey everyone, welcome back. This is our third One Piece discussion and
hmm
everything. This has been exciting, been pretty fun to do. So welcome everyone. If you're new here, if you're not, welcome back. All right, let's get into this. Um, One Piece 1040. We're 1040 chapters into One Piece. This is insane.
It's a crazy moment, and well,
Yeah.
with it being on 3 chapters, Oda did his thing. He did his thing on the
Oh, they
chapter.
really
So,
did this thing.
how did
Oh
you find it?
I I I don't know how to explain it. I found it really good. It's just been like since 1037, like it's
Mm-hmm.
been amping up. Like things have just
100.
been going through the motions ever since the fight with Queen and Sanji. Yeah,
Yeah.
things have just been rolling in, just getting better and better. And like it just feels like we're closer to that final like 10, 15 chapters where we have everything between Kaido and Luffy, and we're gonna get into his backstory and everything. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. It's been
Mm-hmm.
good. How'd you feel about the chapter?
It was amazing. The chapter was amazing. I mean, the cut scene where you see, well, obviously the explosion with Big Mom, you saw Lord do the whole room to cover the explosion and all.
Oh,
That
that
beautiful, beautifully done, and even obviously an underrated moment. I liked that they ended the chapter with the crime with apparently the elephant. I don't know how you say his name. Zanisha,
Zunesha. Yeah.
yeah. And now we're gonna get a little bit more connection with obviously Joy Boy. So I think
Yes.
good because I think this is gonna finally connect Wano, Joy Boy, Momonosuke, Luffy, hopefully somewhat together. Because I think
It's a little bit more how do I call it? World building. We're getting more
exactly.
information about the
Mhm.
history and everything.
And we have
All
the
right.
first fallen emperor. So Big
Yes.
Mom is done completely.
Yeah,
Like
and she's down and out, but that's for the arc itself. But
yes,
she's not
yes,
completely out of
really,
the game, like in
100.
terms of One Piece as a perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
in
been good.
terms of world building, shocking events, that is, I mean, one of the biggest at that moment of time because another Watch generation taking down an emperor. It's showing the domino effect of what is to come. So I
Yeah,
think
and it doesn't just feel like it's only Luffy like
doing the
really
damn.
going after this and pulling his weight. Of course, he's doing like the harder things that are thought to be impossible, but it's not like the other worst generation or his crew are not pulling their weight, which I'm
100%.
happy about.
100%. There was
Um,
a warlord experience where Luffy's soloing all these warlords, but every other pirate just happens to not know where they are.
exactly. It didn't make like, yeah, it's been real good. Um, I want to go back to the cover story though. How did you feel about that?
Cover. Let me
The cover
refresh my.
story where the German brothers that were
The
captured,
German
I believe.
brothers. Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
if- one of the names is Yonji. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
the second one
That
is
was
Nichiji, the one who
yeah,
wears number two on his suit.
yeah,
They're
Niji
both
was the
captured and they're both thinking about the moment that they got defeated by Big Mom, which is
mm-hmm.
actually quite ironic the way Oda did it. Like with the cover story, we see her being like really menacing and beating up these guys
To
and them
then
losing. And then
losing
in
big.
the actual chapter and like the actual story, she's getting beaten. It's just
Yeah.
it's
It's kind of
been
like reminiscing of of the good time before she eventually falls. So it's like,
exactly. It's just
yeah.
like a nice contrast, a nice touch to it that Oda brought in.
100%.
But speaking of Big Mom and expanding on this, how do you feel about her in general? Um, let's first start like maybe from this chapter in general, like with the soul focus, her thoughts and everything as she was falling down to the ground before she exploded and eventually was taken out of the chapter by Oda Sensei, like really doing well with that. Oh, what do you
Okay.
think?
First, we'll start off with the mistranslation. I'm happy I actually looked at the official one because
Yeah.
myself with her saying these attacks are tickling me to
Mm-hmm.
what's it called? I can't remember what she says in the actual translation, but at least her words were taken out of context in that regard. So
Yeah.
my on Big Mom is I think she fulfilled her role as an emperor, especially as a comedic emperor. I
Mm-hmm.
think. all Emperor one, she's the one that's taken less seriously, and that's just by the comedic nature that's associated with her. However, it was done tastefully in this chapter because they got an account of some stuff with her. I think the toppling of the generation, she didn't go out spiteful.
Yeah.
She got out with the belief that okay, I've lost, but it isn't the end or be all of the whole situation, which was something that I wanted to happen. So one maybe criticism I have is, like you said, we didn't get to see maybe more of Earth power or something, a trump card to maybe take her over the edge. But I guess, hey, that's it. I mean, it was a nice indication where she used the soul thing, and
Yeah,
obviously
soul
Law and
focus.
yeah, weren't afraid, and obviously used that as a detriment to overcome. And it was kind of showcasing for the, well, I guess the fodder on the side. Look at these two who aren't afraid of an emperor, and that's why they're going toe to toe with that person. So yeah, I think I enjoyed it. I don't have too many criticisms. I guess I wish Big Mom did a bigger trump card. I guess
Yeah.
that's just my yeah.
Yeah, Big Mom has been quite a controversial character in the community.
Mm,
A lot of people love her or just hate her or are not in the middle, you know?
mm,
There's not a nuanced perception of Big Mom within the story or how she's portrayed when people talk about her. But what I will say is that, you know, as I said last time, it was kind of disappointing that she wasn't using her hockey powers, but at the same time, I think it was good. I think we were oversaturated with hockey and the perception that it was very, very important, when
mm.
really, devil fruit powers still have their place in the power system that Oda has created, and they do play a very important role, right? Um, it's I was thinking about the soul focus, and obviously, it wasn't the first time that it didn't work on Big Mom.
Yeah,
I
Jinbei. Mm.
Jinbei, when he had that epic moment when he was saying, "Oh, I'm leaving you to
At least head
join
of the
the
pirate.
yeah, the
Yeah, King.
future king of the pirates," and he had that incredible monologue that he gave to Big
100%.
Mom, and he didn't even lose a single ton of his lifespan. It just
Mm-hmm.
shows that no matter how menacing the emperors of the sea were, they can be beaten. They're not as they're not as strong as they're perceived to be. They're not as dangerous as they're perceived to be if you have the grit, the potential to get as strong as them. Number two, and what you call it, and it just expands to the world of One Piece, where with Big News Morgan. You remember after Whole Cake Island, Luffy hadn't really beaten Big Mom. He had only beaten one of her commanders and managed to go into Whole Cake Island and escape with his life, and only having one casualty, which was Pedro.
So half his
But
crew as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, for the rest of
Mm,
the world and how they perceive the emperors and other pirates of the sea, is that these are people that you don't really want to mess with. Yeah.
mhm,
But
mhm.
even after that arc, it was we as a community, like when we got Luffy's new bounty and he was considered the new emperor, a new addition as a new emperor of the sea, when we as the readers felt like he wasn't there yet, we now know that right now he is, right? After this arc, he's definitely an emperor of the sea. And but that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because his overall goal is much bigger than being just the emperor of the sea, right? um, so the way we saw Big Mom go down, yes, she's still menacing and everything, but it's not like these guys are nigh invincible. They have their weaknesses, there are ways to beat them, right? If you do the right things and you get as strong as you can, as much as possible, and you know how to use your powers smart as well, and you can also understand her powers, then you can beat her, right? We saw this very well with we saw this very well with Law and how he used the room to like silence her so she couldn't call her homies because they learned from when they were on the rooftop and when they knocked her out, and then when she called to her homies saved her and she came back into into the game. But now Law learned from that, and Kid learned from that as well, and they managed to figure out how to counteract her. So it was quite satisfying to me, and it still feels like she might even come for the next arc as well, which is crazy. It sounds crazy, but it has happened before. So it's getting real interesting. I'm excited to see where Oda takes Big Mom as a character because as we know, even if it's actually funny, the characters that he gives the most gags to also have the most character development. We saw this with Sanji as well in Hope Island. He was basically our gag character for the Straw Hats, but he ended up being our most interesting and most in-depth character besides Luffy.
Hmm.
Besides Luffy, besides Brooke, and besides Robin. He was
Yeah.
one of them that, Oda gave like an entire focus on him for an entire arc, you know? And I feel like regardless of what we've had before and regardless of what Big Mom has done, there's a possibility we're gonna get more from her in the future. It's just gonna be interesting. And then like as she was falling down and she was just like you get to understand her character where everything seems to revolve around her, right? She was like she wasn't even blaming the loss on herself. As she was falling down
Oh,
from Onigashima, she was like,
they know.
Roger, why did you have to say all of that about the One Piece without telling us where it was, and then indirectly bringing all these up and coming new pirates and making it a problem for us when you're dead now and we have to deal with it. You get it? It's just interesting to see how she thinks, what she thinks
No,
about the world around her, and like
I
why
think
she does the things that she does.
that quote summed up Big Mom's character arc perfectly because she's always been a selfish character, and that quote just like yeah, like heavily enforced it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was never when she would like for a good example why she's even a danger to her whole family is because when she loses control she can't even distinguish between friend and foe. Her
Yeah.
whole coming of in her power was her eating her whole family and group of people that she's with. She's always been a reckless like time bomb type of character, and then it just happened that she was strong enough to become an emperor. So the fact that she ended up having that monologue at the end where she was complaining, and it was kind of very childish, like she's like a child in a woman's body basically, and it was showed more of her whole character design of this isn't my fault. Why has everything else failed me to put me in this situation? When she lost her mother, it was, oh, why is everyone gone? Not realizing that she's the reason why all her family and everyone's gone.
Still
When
forgot. She doesn't even know that she
she doesn't even
actually
know
ate them. That's
when
the
the whole
scary part.
birthday cake thing, one little crack of the thing made her lose control and ruin the whole thing for everybody and make the situation worse. Like it's like every time there's been a downfall of Big Mom, she always finds an excuse to say why it isn't her issue. And it's an interesting development because if you look at the Yonkos, I'm guessing that belief and self-confidence has to be there to be able to even be in that situation in the first place. So it's a nice little insight to some of the character. And it's different. I mean, you also got maybe some characters who are a little bit more happy in defeat. They'll be like, "Yeah, this guy's the best of me," but she's like, "No, fuck that! I'm so mad. What do you do this for?" And it's like, it's a different
She's
idea.
hella petty with it.
She's petty, exactly. And even though it's a different thing, I like it because it's different to the usual response you get from battles. Most people it's always an acknowledgement of, "Oh, this is a passing of the torch," but she ain't passing no torch. She's so mad. That's
She
why
don't
I
give
agree
two
with the point
shits.
where that's why I agree with your point where I do think she'll end up becoming another part later on in the story because we've seen that with other characters before.
Yeah, I'm actually just curious of what would happen now that she's lost.
Mm.
Does she lose the respect of
Back
her
to back,
crew?
back to
Do
back.
they leave her, or is it like a particular section which will decide to leave her, like being led by Katakuri, which was
Yeah,
by
yeah.
far one of the best
Best
antagonists
idea.
of any arc
Yes. Yeah,
ever.
agreed. Agreed.
And,
Agreed.
you know, a lot
That
of
is my
people
favorite.
still
Him or Dofi?
respect him,
No, no.
So, like, does he, like, break off from the Big Mom Pirates and joins the Straw Hat Grand Fleet? like for the final battle. Like,
Mm,
these are all things I'm
mhm.
thinking about. I'm wondering like what happens now. And like this entire arc, we have not seen any other member of the Big Mom Pirates besides Perisphero.
Yep,
This
yep,
entire
yep.
arc, they've been on the floor, and I'm like,
Oh, and
are
to
they
be fair,
gonna find her?
we do have to give some respects to Big Mom because obviously Kaido's had all his underlings. She's been pretty much soloing the whole time on her own for the whole time.
Yeah,
So
she's been
definitely
holding her own.
hold
Yeah,
his
so
own.
I'm just like, we already know that she has her own crew and all this stuff. So there's no way she's down and out, like
100.
completely out of the story. But
Nah,
definitely for now, for the arc,
she's
it's
she's
like
out of here.
her
Yeah.
role is done.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and I like how Oda did it. I felt
Mhm.
like a lot of people were going to be in uproar if she was completely defeated and this was never going to happen again. Like she's never going to come back. The only reason she's not going to come back for the rest of the arc is definitely the bombs that she went with and how she knocked up the Kazanbo. That was the
Yeah.
fire spirit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
gonna knock her out. She's gonna pass out and sleep or something until like her crew comes and picks her up, and she'll
Mhm.
have to like go heal and come back and recuperate herself and everything. But you know,
Yep.
it's
I
to
want to ask
ramp
you a
again.
question before. What was
Yeah.
your favorite moment of the chapter? Because for me, it was the Law and Corazon moment when he did the casting of the thing. That was beautiful. That was that was
That
nice.
that was that was also my favorite part.
Yeah. Right.
Actually, scratch that. That was my second favorite part.
Mhm.
Because Law has just been MVP the entire time.
I lie.
For
It's
the
an epic.
past for the entire arc, it's not even just now. He's just been doing things coming in clutch every time. And then now we just keep on seeing how Oda is so creative in the way that he expands on Law's powers or anybody else in general with the devil fruits. That's where he's really in his bag when he's
Yep.
expanding upon like how somebody can use their powers in different ways. You know, it's just so it's elite. But my
100%.
favorite part
We
right
even do that.
now,
Build up on even Oda go more of Oda's goodness. I think one thing
yeah,
he does well is that he conveys a lot of questions the readers have through characters. So a good
yeah,
example of how he did with Big Mom, where she was asking questions about the Wano. It's like, oh, does this have an answer to this thing? It's like a
yeah.
pun because we know those are the questions that we want, but it's using the same characters' naivety to then portray the same answers and questions that we're looking for. And I think this is very done well. But yeah, continue to do.
Um, but my favorite part really was at the end where Momonosuke came up to
Yeah,
Yamato and was
Yamato.
like, and he expanded on why Zunisha is here. Well,
Yep,
he didn't really say why Zunisha is here, but he gave us that tidbit
she's a
that
criminal.
yeah, he committed a crime and was actually like a nakama of
Mm.
Joy Boy. So
What if it ate Joy Boy?
Zunisha, and rather through whatever Zunisha ends up telling Momonosuke, we'll get more about the Void Century and what all that opens up for us
Okay.
is
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
amazing. And then like what did Zunisha do? Like that's at the back of my mind. Is like what did he do? Did he betray
You
the
think
ancient kingdom? So many questions.
you think we'll even get that conclusion? Because obviously Zanisha's being chased. Remember, the Marines are at the moment on pursuit of Zanisha.
No,
So,
they're not. They're not.
really, wasn't there a panel where they were looking for? Oh my,
The panel where Zunisha came up,
yeah.
technically he was behind the Marines, the Marine
Oh,
ships. The
okay, okay,
Marines are just focusing on Wano to try and take over
okay, okay,
once
okay.
in case Kaido loses, which is probably
Loses,
to happen,
which
or
yeah.
they're there to like pick up CP0 and whatever they want.
Okay, so
Because
yes,
their main focus right now is Robin. So
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
think they're there probably to come, escort them. Some will stay to make
Makes
it
sense.
part of the world government or like keep it under their control, but that won't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, okay,
it's
that's good. That's a good point. Yeah, but I
yeah.
agree with you. But what you
Yeah,
want to
but
see?
the possibility is that Zunisha actually clears that fleet of Marines
and then
get
comes in and
caught.
helps. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
really good.
that's really my favorite part because like it just makes me so excited for the next chapter. But now that we're on a cliffhanger for 10:40 and we have like 2 weeks, it's not
Yeah,
coming this Friday, so it's painful.
hundred
But
percent.
I'm so excited. That was my favorite part. But I do have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Um, did you manage to see that point um where Zoro was falling off on Nagashima, like as it was crumbling? I'm a bit worried for him because now he was lying on his back, but now he's passed out on his front.
Passed out. Yep.
Yeah, and we
I'm telling you, he's
confirmed it.
battling some demons, bro.
Yeah, and we actually
Cause
confirmed it. Brooke is
yep,
still with Robin,
yep,
so that was definitely either a hallucination
yep.
of
Or
or a
definitely battling
physical
some demons.
representation of Enma, his sword. So we might get to find out how Enma can become a black blade.
That's actually be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited
I,
for
I,
that.
I think that's actually a very good theory. I think that could definitely be something very interesting that they can do,
Yeah,
and it would make sense because I mean, after this big ass like I guess action packed couple chapters, I'm guessing they're gonna go something that has a little bit more information based, especially
yeah,
with the Zunesha and stuff. So I agree with you. I think that actually
definitely.
might. Yeah.
Oof. Oof, oof, oof. This
I mean,
whole
oh no,
chapter is
no,
just packed with so much stuff.
100%. It was like the good thing about this is that they answered a lot of our questions that we were asking. We're wondering where is Brooke? Where
Yeah.
how is Robin? How is what's it called? Some of our other characters. You see obviously another frame shot of what's that guy who was with Kaido? I forgot his name. The one Kaido we thought was dead. He can turn into like an eight-headed snake or whatever.
Oh,
Orochi.
Orochi.
Yes, you get a little
Orochi.
thing of it. Yeah, and it was like we're finally getting to the conclusion, so it's kind of showing us the main faces of what's to come next. I think
Yeah.
it was really fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a great
Yeah,
chapter, man. I enjoyed the chapter a lot.
it really was. There's just so much. What are your so I'm assuming like what we've talked about right now is our predictions for what's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
happen
yeah,
in the next
yeah,
chapter.